Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Free. I'm Ryan, and I'm the pastor here, and it's so good to be with you all again this evening. Free is a community for addicts, loved ones of addicts, and spiritual refugees. And what we do here is break the silence of addiction and create space for healing, recovery, and spiritual connection. If you're watching right now, it isn't by accident. If you're watching right now and you think others might like to join in on the conversation with mental health, particularly around the issue of self-care, go ahead and hit the share button. Hit the like button. Let us know you're here. Give us some comments. Let us know where you're tuning in from, where you're joining us from. And again, we're so glad you're here. We're glad to be with you tonight. And we realize that tonight is there's so much unrest and uncertainty in our community right now, in the Denver community, and probably where you're at as well. All over our nation, there's so much unrest and uncertainty. That's why it's good to gather as community. We actually need each other. I hope we're seeing that now more than ever. We need one another. We need community, even when it is gathering virtually. So once again, I'm so glad you're here to join us for our fourth week of our mental health and wellness series. I want you all to hear from my brother, Andrew. Andrew's going to tell us what's coming up in this free community. So many exciting things. Andrew, tell us what's up.
My life? I don't believe you. Oh, hey guys, what's up? It's Drew over here at Free. A couple cool announcements. Next week, we're shaking that junk and popping that trunk. So from 5 to 7 next Wednesday, and yes, I just came up with that right now. So from 5 to 7 next Wednesday on June 3rd, you guys can pull on up. You don't even have to get out of your cars. Basically, fill your trunk with non-perishable goods and items. We're going to come. You're going to pop that trunk, and we're going to come and grab those items. We're really trying to fill up our local food bank's pantry. So come out and support. We're actually giving away free gelato. We're going to have a food truck out there.
And Italian ice.
And Italian ice, and Lou's going to be dancing, so you can't miss it. So the other announcement I wanted to hit on, we're actually having a guy, Derek Webb, coming to join Ryan.
Video, don't we? Do we have a video?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we do. We do have a video for that Pop That Trunk event, so let's play that.
Let's see it.
Pop it, pop it, pop it, pop it, pop it. And let me see you pop that trunk.
Yeah, come on and pop that trunk. I got to pop that trunk. I like the way we pop that trunk. Pop that trunk. Pop that trunk. Ladies, you better pop that trunk. I got to pop that trunk. I like the way we pop that trunk. Pop that trunk. Pop that trunk.
Come on, come on.
Pop it, pop it. Pop it, pop it.
Come on, come on.
Pop it, pop it. Pop that trunk. Pop that trunk.
Oh, we live again? Oh, hey, back. So anyway, what I was saying before, the other announcement I want to throw out there, Derek Webb, he's gonna be hanging out with Ryan June 20th. That's a Saturday night. That'll actually be our service at 7 p.m. Gonna have some fun. He's actually a performer, a pretty well-known one, and he's gonna be throwing down some live music and sharing some story and some good time with Ryan. So make sure you check that out. And then the last thing I want to hit it on, give Tammy some love. Her and I, we've been working really hard to develop a new website and a new app that we're planning to launch. It's actually done, so I'm gonna come show you guys just for a second here. Oh, it's right here. What it's like and what it's all about. Can you unlock your phone, my friend? That wasn't my face. All right. Cool. So yeah, this will be coming out in a month or so here. We're planning to shoot it live at the end of July. Or I'm sorry, the beginning of July. It's unofficially done though, so I'm going to show a little bit of it to you. Here's the landing page of what this app's going to look like. We have some easy access resources. And if you look on the bottom here, we actually have a couple tabs to easily get to some of the stuff that we know and love and want to get to really easily. So we have a tab for our giving system that's also integrated with our website. We have a Get Involved tab where we actually have a tech team, home team, and some options to sign up for some different things here at Free and be a part of our community. We also have some information about our leaders. Any of the videos, any of the series that we're posting, any of the things we mention, we're going to throw it in there. And then also we have some events. That being said, recovery meetings, it's a big part of what we do around here. We have a tab specifically designed for those. So if you're interested in and downloading that app. Like I said, that'll be a month or so. Look for that. We'll be spreading the love, and tell your friends because it's going to be free. So, pun intended. Thanks, guys. Back to Ryan.
Thank you, Drew. Drew has done so much in this community, not only with the app and with the website that's coming out, him and Tammy, but Drew's also the lead of our tech team. So, Drew, we appreciate you, brother. So glad you're with us tonight and every Saturday night. All right, y'all, lots going on. I hope you join us some point this week. Wednesday night, it would be so great to see some of you. It'd be so great to see all of you, actually. Free gelato and Italian ice. And fill the trunk with some canned goods. We'll fill that food pantry. All right, y'all, how we start around here. If you're new with us this evening, we say welcome to you, and we begin by celebrating, because we take celebrating pretty seriously in this community, as we do our heartaches and the bad stuff in life, the negative, the pain, the struggle. We save that for the end, though. But we begin with celebrating. So take 3 minutes, drop us your celebrations. And especially celebrating is so important during difficult times when the world is at unrest and at uncertainty. We need to remember how to celebrate and how to lift up the good. So get vulnerable with this community. Drop them in the comments. Let us know what we're celebrating, because we want to do that together. God joins with us in the celebration. God celebrates life with us. And this community celebrates with you. So maybe it's sobriety anniversaries. Maybe it's new babies being born, new jobs being had. I've heard some of this week. Just anything new and good in life. Let's lift it up and celebrate it together. Then Tammy and I will come back. Take 3 minutes. Drop them in the comments. And Tammy and I will come back and celebrate with you and read some of those celebrations with you. Take 3, y'all.
See the light of a new day dawning. Feel the love from a beating heart. Catch a ride to the top of the world. This is where we start. No, we can't make it last forever. We gotta use all the time we have. And you know that we'll never say never if we ever get the chance. And it's good to be alive. It's good to be alive. This feeling's running high. Life is calling and the world is beautiful. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. There's a winding road we're choosing, looking for a brand new day. And up ahead there's an open door, now we'll find our way. There's a hope for a new tomorrow. We can dream that we'll rise above. Let me be your guide to follow, and you'll always feel the love. And it's good to be alive. It's good to be alive. This feeling's running high. Life is calling and the world is beautiful. Na 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 na. Seize the moment and stop right now. Play the music and live. Well, it's good to be alive. So good to be alive. This feeling's running high. Oh, life is calling and
Man, I'm telling y'all, it continues to be like some of
So
our
cool.
favorite parts of the evening, right? Is celebrating with you all, getting to read them, and then Drew doing a countdown for us to let us know we're back on.
Man,
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
and just to listen to everybody in the background, well, the few of us that are here,
Yeah.
and everybody yelling out and celebrating with you. I wish you guys could hear it.
I know.
Hopefully soon.
We're literally clapping with you.
Yeah.
All right, let's throw some on the screen. You want to start, hon?
Yeah, from Desiree. I paid all my bills on time this month. That's big.
Way to go, Desiree. Miranda Meek says 1 month sobriety, 2 weeks sugar free.
Woo.
Miranda, keep on going. I bet you feel a lot better and life is starting to get better. Way to go. Keep doing it.
Lou, taking my fast pitch softball team to Oklahoma to finally play. I'm so excited for them.
Way to go, Lou.
Very exciting.
All right, Pamela says, I felt calm for the first time in months this week.
That's
Keep
great.
getting into that feeling, Pamela. Thank you for sharing that with us. We'll celebrate with you.
Yeah.
What does Sherry say?
Sherry Billington, my babies, thinking that might be you and me and
Yeah.
a couple other littles,
It's my mama.
are coming to Florida soon. My big babies and my littles. Yep. We're
See
excited
you
to be
soon,
there.
mama. All right, Eric Arnold, he says, celebrating our family, getting ready for a puppy in a few months. Congratulations, Arnoldy family. Enjoy that puppy.
Those kids will
Celebrating
love
with
that.
you. All right.
Julie, 40 days sober. Love to
Julie,
hear
so
that.
proud of you. I love it. Keep doing that.
Woo, you got
It's
Who's
been-
and Hollers coming out.
And it's been fun. I get texts from Julie, so we get to celebrate together. Thank you for sharing those, Julie.
all
You want
you.
to take this one?
This
Is
is
this
me?
me?
Yeah.
All right, Jamie, this was such a cool phone call I got this week. Jamie, this was fun. She says, tonight, God has opened doors to place me where my heart is at and giving me employment, working with homeless. So much gratitude and excitement. Also, 1 year celebrated out of prison.
Wow.
Jamie, so
So
Jamie
much to
called me.
celebrate.
Was that yesterday?
Couple-
I think
oh.
it was yesterday. I don't know, yesterday or the day before. And she said, Pastor, I got this job and I want you to pray with me and bless it. So we prayed together over the phone. So proud of you, Jamie.
Yeah.
You're going to rock it. If you guys remember, Jamie was baptized in this community. Man, when was that?
Couple months ago,
A couple
yeah.
months ago, January, February?
Jeez.
Anyway, so proud of you, Jamie. Keep
Awesome,
doing
Jamie.
it. Keep doing it. Last one. You want to take
Okay.
it?
Lance, my great friend Bob, fighting pancreatic cancer, has turned the corner and some interim health issues and is ready for the next fight.
All right.
Yeah. We're thinking about Bob often, so thanks,
Yeah,
Lance, for that reminder.
celebrating that. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you, Lance. All right. Thank you for joining me, Tammy.
I
You can
love
stay up
it.
till the video. You want to stay up for a minute?
I will.
Let's stay up here. Let's do this thing together. All right, y'all. As I said earlier, and as Andrew said, we are in the 4th week of this mental health and wellness series. And tonight we're going to talk about self-care. Sierra's in the house. She's going to join us. I'm going to say more about her in just a moment. But here's a little video to get things started. Tonight, I want to have a conversation about you loving yourself and boundaries. You see, Jesus was asked by some of the religious leaders, what's the greatest commandment? And Jesus responded in Matthew's Gospel, chapter 22. And we'll throw this on the screen for you. It's verses 37 through 39. He replied, you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your being, with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it. You must love your neighbor as you love yourself. Now, we could do a whole series on why the religious leaders of the day would be asking Jesus questions like this. And it was usually to try to trap him, put him in a box, to get him to admit that God's love really isn't for all people. It was just for some people, and they just happened to be in the some category. And we could do an entire series on what it means to love your neighbor and who exactly is our neighbor. And what an important question that is for right now. In light of this week's events with the murder of George Floyd and the continuing problem of systemic racial injustice in our midst, to love the other as your neighbor. But for our theme tonight of self-care, I want to hone in on the last part of Jesus' statement where he says, you must love your neighbor as you love yourself. Because sometimes we skip over that last part, don't we? As you love yourself. And I think what Jesus was saying here is actually quite profound. We can't really love others if we do not love ourselves. But what does it mean to love yourself? And there are so many different things we could talk about here. The importance of recognizing your limitations, like we talked about last week. The importance of rest. The importance of reaching out to mentors and therapists and sponsors and friends and community. But in my experience and observations, the thing we might need to talk about most when it comes to loving yourself well is the importance of boundaries. One of the primary things that can pull you away from loving yourself well, living into your true self, the one who God created you to be, is a lack of boundaries in your life. You see, when we're not living with clear boundaries, and when we keep allowing others to cross those boundaries, we become hateful and resentful. We become people who severely lack in compassion and love for other people. So for the next few minutes, I want to explore boundaries with you through the lens of these three questions. First, what are we talking about when we talk about boundaries? And second, how does our faith inform how we think about boundaries? And in that third question, what do boundaries have to do with you loving yourself well? So first, what are we talking about when we talk about boundaries? For purposes this evening, when we talk about boundaries, we're talking about what do you do with those awkward, tense, toxic relationships? How do you think about and interact with those relationships that don't bring life, but drain you and suck the life out of you? And now, if you're wondering, if you have these relationships in your life, you're like, yeah, I think I do. I'm just not sure which category to put it in. Ask yourself these questions. What does this relationship do to me? Does it inspire? Does it steal your energy? Does it always tell you how you're not enough? You're not good enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not smart enough. Does it bring the best out of you? Or think about it this way. Do you have to go through a detox after spending time with this person? Do you have people in your life who just have this supernatural ability to say something to you and 3 days later you are still replaying what they said? What does this relationship do to me? Because the truth is, your life is a gift. So we have to ask the question, am I being a good steward of the gift I've been given? And by the way, let me just say, I don't have this stuff nailed. And I don't think many of y'all do either. That's why we're talking about it. The stuff we have nailed usually isn't very interesting. That's why we're talking about this. Boundaries. If you struggle with this, if there are relationships that completely drain you, this is normal. People push your buttons. This is normal. When people say to me, yeah, but it's not just people, it's family members who push my buttons. Well, of course they do. They're the ones who installed those buttons. They know how to push them. Now, there's a book that I highly recommend. I think all of you should get this book and read it. It's called Boundaries by Dr. Henry Cloud and Dr. John Townsend. It is a classic in the field. I've mentioned it several times in this community, and it's just good, simple stuff that's just sometimes so hard to practice. In the opening pages, they say this, and we'll throw it on the screen for you. Any confusion of responsibility and ownership in our lives is a problem of boundaries. Just as homeowners set physical property lines around their land, We need to set mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual boundaries for our lives to help us distinguish what is our responsibility and what isn't. You see what boundaries are? They help us distinguish what's ours and what isn't. The stuff you need to carry and the stuff you need to lay down. So when we talk about boundaries, we're asking the question of what do we do with the toxic relationships in our lives? Second question, how does our faith inform how we think about boundaries? And let me remind y'all, setting boundaries is a spiritual project. Having firm boundaries in the relationships that drain us helps us to be better stewards of the gift we've been given. And it's interesting, when you read through the New Testament scriptures, you see that Jesus was always about relationships. And he also had incredibly strong boundaries in many of these relationships. In Luke's gospel, there's a story about Jesus getting up early in the morning, and he's going to this deserted place so he can get ready to go to the next city. And the crowds try to stop him from going. They say, no, Jesus, you can't leave us and go somewhere else. And see, he'd been teaching them and restoring and talking about new life, and they didn't want him to leave. But he says, look, I've got good news to spread in other cities too. I can't just stay here. And it's a fascinating story because Jesus tries to leave to find a quiet place before going to the next city, and the crowds say, don't go. But Jesus goes because he knows his purpose, his mission, his story. He has boundaries with people. These stories are found all over the Gospels. Like in Luke chapter 12, where Jesus is standing among a group of people, a crowd of people, and someone shouts from the crowd, teacher, tell this brother of mine to give me my share of the inheritance. And Jesus looks at him and says, dude, who sent me to be judge over you? You figure it out. Don't pull me into your mess. This isn't my mess. This is your mess. You figure it out. Matthew chapter 10. Jesus is with all of his disciples, his closest friends, the ones he's been traveling with. And he knows he's getting ready to go to Jerusalem. And he says to his disciples, he knows the end of his life is coming. And he says to his disciples, his friends, I want you to go into these other towns and villages and cities. And I want you to spread the good news there of God's love for all people. And he says, listen, if that village rejects you, you shake the dust off your feet and you move on. Even with the people he loved, he was clear in his boundaries. Even with the people you love most, you might need some clarity in your boundaries. And then just one final one in Matthew 16. Jesus is again with his disciples, his closest friends. Peter, his boy Peter, says, Jesus, you can't go to Jerusalem. It's not going to go well. Do you remember what he says? Jesus says to his friend, it's kind of harsh, get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me. Dang. Jesus was serious about his boundaries. Third question, what do boundaries have to do with you loving yourself well? You want to be healthy? You want to get serious about your mental health? Get serious about setting firm boundaries with the relationships that are preventing you from being the person God created you to be. And y'all, listen, I get it. When you start setting up boundaries, that voice will kick in and you can start saying, well, I don't want to be mean. And that person's going to think I'm mean if I do this. And listen, it's not about you being mean. It's about you being healthy. You knowing who you are. It's about you living into the commandment of loving yourself well so that you can love others well. Get serious about your boundaries. And when it comes to being around this person, and you know the person who's constantly making snide remarks, the person who's constantly tearing you down, the person who's constantly making those passive-aggressive comments, ask yourself this question. How long can I be around this person before losing my true self? Yeah. How long can I hang around this person before I start misbehaving and doing things that aren't in alignment with who I am, with who God's created me to be? And when it comes to these people, these toxic relationships, set up firm boundaries. And if you have to be around them, set time limits. Say, look, I'm going to go, but I'm only staying for 2 hours or 90 minutes or 15 minutes. For some of you at this point in the journey, it will be 5 minutes. You'll just be making an appearance, and then you're out of there because it's about you being healthy. Set them and stick to them. It's like this. I had a very unhealthy relationship with alcohol. It was toxic. Early in my sobriety, I had to set up firm boundaries. This was suggested to me. And thank God, Tammy, my wife, was a huge support here. And so when we went to that gathering where there was going to be booze, there was a game plan. I'd have to say, all right, I'll go and I can only stay an hour, even if things are going well. Because what you don't want to do is wait till you get into trouble and then set up some boundaries. No. You go in with a game plan and boundaries and you stick to them. Get serious about your boundaries. You know, I hear people say all the time, well, I guess I'm just supposed to take it. I'm the mom. I'm the dad. I'm the sibling. I guess this is my cross to bear. Stop it. No, it isn't. Don't buy into that lie. That is not loving yourself well. And one final comment. It is okay to refuse to participate in the madness. When it comes to dysfunctional family systems and certain individuals, it is okay to walk away. And I get it, y'all. This can be some of the hardest work you do. And I don't want to make light of it. Some of these relationships and dynamics are so complex that if you and I sat down for hours, you still couldn't explain all the complexities. And here's the thing. When you set up those kinds of boundaries and you start saying no to those people, they might get mad. It's like telling our 1-year-old no. When we say no to Bricks now, who's 1, he can lay out on the ground and he can start to throw a fit because he's unhappy and he's not getting his way. But here's the deal. You can behave well even if they behave like a child. Even if they throw themselves on the ground and they behave poorly, you don't have to argue and debate and convince. Again, that may seem mean, and your ego will be terrified about how others see you, how they will perceive you. But it is about you getting healthy, you loving yourself. My friends, if you want to love others well, you must love yourself well. Your life is a holy, sacred gift. You want to be healthy? Perhaps there are some things that you need to let go of, walk away from. That thing you're carrying, that relationship, that toxicity, it isn't yours to carry. I heard a guy say recently, if it's too heavy, it's because you picked it up. Maybe it's time to lay some things down and set up some boundaries because your life matters. Your mental health matters. So here's the deal, y'all. I want to give you 60 seconds. I want to end things with engaging some questions for you, and we'll throw these questions on a screen once the 60 seconds start. What makes setting firm boundaries hard for you? And again, get vulnerable with this community. What makes this work hard? I mean, if it were easy, we wouldn't be talking about it. What makes setting firm boundaries hard for you? And then a second question, you could pick one or both of them. How did your life get better after you set firm boundaries in your life? Take 60 seconds, come back, and then I want y'all to meet Sierra, our guest expert who's in the house tonight. All right, 60 seconds. All right, welcome back. I'm reading through some of your comments. Drew, should we throw a couple on the screen? Gina said, thanks to Al-Anon, I do not struggle with boundaries. Yeah, 12-step programs help us a ton to understand the importance of boundaries in our lives. Amanda said, you don't lose your serenity and peace. How true is that? When we have boundaries, we keep our serenity. Yes, thank you for that, Amanda. Anyone else? Andrea said, not being able to walk away and detachment. Exactly. That is what makes boundaries so hard for us to set up. Thank you for sharing that. Melissa says, after setting boundaries, I'm able to let people in. Yeah, I am safe. I can say no. Yeah, not only is boundaries about getting people out, but it's about letting people in. Vulnerability. Ashley. Hi, Ashley. Ashley said, worrying about hurting people's feelings. Yep, me too. So putting myself before others is hard, but I get freedom and peace and serenity. It's hard, and yet there's so many gifts that come with it. Thank you for sharing that, Ashley. All right, last one. Carrie said, I'm afraid I won't be liked if I set a boundary. Yeah, me too. Me too. I want to be liked. That's what makes this boundary work hard. Thank you for that, Carrie. Thank you all for participating. And you can keep that going. Just because the 60 seconds are over doesn't mean you can't tell us what makes boundaries hard and the good things that come from setting firm boundaries. But right now, I want y'all to meet Sierra. Now listen, Sierra was with us a few months ago, and she came that night and she shared her story, and we had an interview all set up. I was gonna ask her questions along the way, and I could not get out of bed that day. I was sick with the flu, the worst sickness I've had in I think the last decade. So I had to call the team and say, look, I can't make it in. So I miss Sierra. So part of this is selfish. I'm having her back because I want to hear her and what she has to say. Let me tell you a little bit about her story, though. She has this really, I don't know, interesting, fascinating story that is the backstory to what she's doing now. But I just want to share some of the points with you. Her parents were divorced when she was 7 years old. Her dad was in the military and suffered from PTSD and coped with alcohol, learned how to cope with alcohol. Her parents were meth users together, methamphetamine. Her mom was arrested when she was 10, and her dad was sent home from Iraq to get full custody of Sierra. Her dad still had an alcohol problem, and it became more severe and more secretive. He refused to get help, and every time he attempted detox, he would relapse. And in 2011, her dad died by suicide. And her dad was her best friend. She had to work through lots of anger, confusion, and forgiveness. And now Sierra is 24 years old, and she is finishing her degree in clinical mental health counseling, and she's already doing so much work in the counseling field. She'll graduate in December as a licensed practitioner counselor and intends to work in the fields of addiction and trauma. Now, don't you want to hear why she's here talking about mental health and self-care? She's got stuff to say about this. So I want you all to meet Sierra. Sierra, come on up and join me at the table. All right. Thank you for being here, Sierra.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
And I'm glad I can actually be here when
I
you're
know.
here.
We're
My
healthy.
goodness. That's great. It stays that way. All right. Tell us a little bit about how I just gave them the high levels of your backstory, but how your backstory shapes the work that you're doing now and how all of this ties into self-care.
It's a loaded question.
It's a loaded question.
But I would definitely say that my background, some of what Ryan had told you, is I was sort of subjected to a lot of things. I didn't really have the power being a kid. And so part of the boundaries, which I love that you mentioned, was the first step for me when it came to self-care. I had to learn boundaries from a really young age with my parents. And I think it's the first thing I talk about in therapy with my clients. It's the first thing that I work on. It helps filter the good and filter out the bad, brings the good people in. And so I just have a huge heart for just wanting to do life with people and make sure that they don't think that they're alone, and giving them tools to go out into the world and, put those into relationships.
Yes. I love how you say that. And Sarah, you also told me that You understand Jesus, and this is found all over the scriptures too, that Jesus is the great counselor.
Yes.
And that when you read through the Gospels, Jesus was always meeting people where they were.
Yep.
And you say that's exactly what you try to do in your practice. When you meet
Yes.
with clients, you meet them exactly where they are. Tell us more about that.
Yeah. So it began when I was 15. I went to a youth retreat and I gave my life to Christ in the midst of the fatherlessness, which I talked about the last time I was here.
Yeah.
But when I was reading scripture and I went to college at Colorado Christian University, the biggest thing that stood out to me while delving into scripture was Jesus's ministry, the way that he sat with people. He met people where they were at and not where he thought that they should be, even though he is all-knowing. He knows where they're going to end up. He knows what is good for them. But he gives them the space and the patience and offers them what their immediate needs are. And I was like, I want to be that person. I want to help reflect Jesus's identity through this ministry and through my career so that it's more holistic for me.
I think it's important that when you told me therapy and counseling is self-care for people.
Oh, yeah.
Because what happens is we often think of self-care as just, well, I'm going to go lay on a beach somewhere, or I'm going to relax, I'm going to rest. And that can certainly be self-care, but there's the more active form of self-care, which is what you're talking about with counseling and therapy, right? It can be some hard work.
Oh, it's extremely hard. Yeah, that's why I think that there's a big stigma around counseling, that you're going there to meet someone for them to tell you how to live your life, for them to fix you. However, you're the one doing all of the work in there. You're the one that needs to lead by example and enter into vulnerability and honesty, because real change, real heart change isn't going to happen if we're not being honest even with ourselves.
Yes.
And therapists know, and if I feel like I'm working harder in the room to get my client to open up, to uncover some wounds, that's kind of how I know I need to step back and let them process and let them take initiative over it.
Yeah, if you're more tired than they are,
right,
that's a problem.
Yeah.
So which is a great lead into our next question of, tell us some of the misconceptions around self-care, because I think there's a lot of them out there.
Yeah. I would definitely say that there's a couple top ones. The first one is that people think that it's selfish. And actually, that's so counterintuitive. It's actually a necessity. It's not a luxury, it's a necessity. Because the quality of our self-care is going to affect the quality we bring into our relationships, into our workplace, into our ministry. So that, I think, is the biggest one that is not understood well, is that it's selfish. It's not. It's an investment.
Yes.
And then I think the other one is that it's self-indulgent. Of course, you have to have boundaries when it comes to self-care, because too much self-care might come off as indulgent or selfish or self-seeking. But if you truly take the time to figure out what self-care tools work for me, because it's not going to work for everyone else.
Yeah.
And so when you find out the right tools and you're doing it in a way that you're still regarding other people, but you're investing in yourself, because this is what matters and this is what flows out into the world.
Yeah. And that's why I think it was so profound for Jesus to say, like, this deep internal thing that we know, but we sometimes push to the side.
Absolutely.
If you want to love others well, you have to love yourself.
Yep.
In other words, if you want healthy relationships, you have to be healthy.
You have to have a healthy relationship with yourself.
That's right. Self-love.
Yeah.
Baby. So why do you think, we talked about burnout last week. Why do you think self-care is so important?
Self-care is so important in regards to burnout and even meltdowns, if you want to think about mental. If you're not filling your cup, and if you're trying to give out of an empty cup, out of an empty well, it's not going to be fruitful. You can really white knuckle it until you truly can, but then people are going to recognize you're going to become more not healthy in your head. You're going to start believing lies. You're going to start really slipping in that department. And so the more you take care of yourself, the less frequent burnouts are. And I can honestly say that they're almost like preventable with good quality self-care, because you'll be able to recognize when burnout is coming. You'll be able to recognize when there's too much on your plate and when to take things off. So
Yeah.
it becomes intuitive once you get good at it.
Yeah, and you also talked last week about the relationship between self-care and isolation.
Yeah.
And I have to be honest with people, I've been really interested in this study of isolation recently because of what's happened in our world with COVID-19 and so many people feeling isolated. And I remind people this, the Surgeon General said it was just 3 years ago, he was talking about how isolation is a new epidemic that is sweeping through our country, and it is affecting so many. And he says one of the things we're not talking about right now is the real impacts of social distancing and how that's going to impact people long term. So talk to us a little, and we'll talk more about that. We're going to do a belonging series next.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about isolation because that's the opposite of belonging. But talk to us about just what you've seen in your practice and your culture and your world about isolation and self-care.
Yeah. Studying mental health too, I've been able to cognitively, like head knowledge, know that isolation is not good for you. And I've just been extremely privileged to have really good quality relationships in my life that really helped me from feeling isolation. I can reach out to those people. But then when this pandemic happened, my mind went straight towards the depravity of isolation. And isolation is where usually the enemy lies. It's very easy for when you're only having one stream of thought come in and there's nothing able to disrupt that thought and stop it, such as a community or friends and family, you can really start believing some pretty significant lies.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, give us some helpful tools, some practical tools for self-care. And when as we met last week to talk about tonight, you talked about some broad tools for the community, but also you're one of us in this community of being the loved one of an addict, and so you talked about some different tools for the addiction/recovery community, and talk to us about that.
Yeah.
Give us some tools.
Yeah. So the foundational ones that I always love to mention and that I think we look past too often is your physical health. So that being getting enough sleep, like take time to get good amount of sleep, because what that does for you chemically is the most important thing, getting rest so that you have energy to even pour into your life and to make it quality. And eating a well-balanced diet, not restrictive, not anything like that, but where you can enjoy your food, but you're having this healthy relationship with food and getting really good nutrients in. And then physical exercise, obviously that varies for every person. Some people really love powerlifting, other people like yoga. So it's different for everyone, but we all know that exercise is good for us.
Yeah.
But some of the specifics that I really like to walk through with my clients too, and for myself, is doing a visualization technique. If people are really not knowing where to start with self-care, I usually ask my clients, close your eyes, and I give them a couple minutes to kind of get grounded. And I say, all right, you go to sleep, and tomorrow you have no demands, no stresses, no obligations. You have a whole day to yourself. And these are the 3 questions that I like to ask is, what are you doing? Who are you with? And where are you?
Great questions.
Yeah, I think that's those 3 questions are really good at.
Y'all should write those questions down. If you're watching right now, write those 3 questions down.
I was going to try to do it as a technique online, but I was like, maybe that's a little too far-fetched. But
Same again though. What are the 3 questions?
What are you doing? Who are you with? And where are you?
Love it.
Yeah. So for me, when I think about that, I'm getting up, I'm making breakfast, I'm making a good breakfast, I'm going to the gym, and then I go and drive out to spend time with my family. Those are things that bring me joy. And those are also the biggest thing when you're thinking about self-care and you don't know where to start is ask yourself, what brings you joy? What fills you up and doesn't leave you feeling drained, like you were talking about earlier? And incorporate those, because you matter and your health matters.
Yes.
All the way from your mental, emotional, physical, it all matters.
Yeah, it's all connected, right?
Yes,
the emotional,
absolutely.
physical, mental, spiritual, it
Yes.
is all interconnected.
It's holistic.
Now, Sierra mentioned that some people might like powerlifting. If you don't follow Sierra on Insta, her Insta's at the bottom of the screen, Insta at Sierra_fit_. You're going to see videos of like Sierra powerlifting Cadillacs and heavy things.
Oh my gosh.
Seriously, she's a power lifter. I'm assuming you find joy in that.
Yes, that was my first form of self-care, was exercising, and then I
Mhm.
got not addicted to it. You have to, you have to watch your relationship with the gym because that can become toxic.
Yep.
But it is the number one thing that I go to fill my bucket for sure.
You don't want to get in a wrestling match with her, all right? You're going to lose. She can lift heavy
Oh my
things.
gosh.
No, so, and seriously, if y'all have questions for Sierra, if you want to connect with her, put them in the comments. She's sticking around here tonight. She's going to engage your questions. And you are doing, I know you're finishing your degree in December, but
Mhm.
do you see clients now? How does that, explain to us how that works?
Yeah, so right now I'm limited because I am in my internship. I don't have my degree quite yet, but I'm always up for coffee dates, for messages, for Zoom, because that's what we're doing nowadays.
Mhm.
Always up for that. Just connecting and making relationships and figuring out what the ins and outs are of people that I, enjoy and like to work with. And I also wanted to mention too, on my Instagram, I also would love for that to be a platform to connect with any of you online and on Facebook as well. Regardless, holistic health, whether it's fitness,
Yeah.
eating, tools for mental health.
Yeah, and you do a cool thing called Counselor's Corner.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. That's the last thing. I know I'm
Yeah.
adding questions. but
No,
tell us
that's
about
okay.
Counselor's Corner.
Yeah, so that's kind of been a new thing for me. Just with the light of the pandemic, I really wanted to put some positive energy out into social media. And so I love to bring people on. I've done it twice. And I love to bring people on to talk about their real problems, their real struggles, their celebrations, their
Mhm.
problems with addiction or other mental health issues. My roommate just did one on anxiety. And although I don't have anxiety, she reached people
Yes.
that I couldn't when it comes to a specific topic. So if anyone would be interested in sharing their testimony and sharing their story and kind of set an example with that vulnerability, I would love to connect with you and share your testimony with the world.
Hit up Sierra. Let her know you're interested. By the way, it's why we do that here, why we
Yep.
take storytelling so seriously,
Mhm.
because when you share your story around whatever it is, you give other people hope. You give other people the permission to step into their vulnerability and say, yeah, me too. I've been through that. I've been
Mhm.
there and I came out on the other end. You're
Right.
not alone. So important.
Yes.
Storytelling is so important.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Of
much for
course.
being here, Sierra. We're going to have you back in the future. I know we will, assuming you'd be willing to come back and join us.
Absolutely. I love
Um,
free.
Yes, thank you for being here. If you want to connect with her, is Insta the best place? Your
Yeah,
Instagram
or
page?
Facebook. I'll
Find her on
comment so you
Facebook.
can friend
She's
request
under
me.
Sierra Nicole on Facebook.
Yeah.
I've tagged her in some posts on a free page. Find her there, or at Sierra_fit_. Connect with her. If you all have questions, ask them. She will be engaging you throughout the evening. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for being here.
Of course.
All right. Andrew, we are going to go to heartaches now. Oh, I need to scoot over. Andrew keeps us in line around here, and Tammy and
sweat-
Danny, they just tell us what to do and keep
What
us
was
in
that?
line. Thank you, Sarah, for being with us. How we end things around here, or getting close to the end, is we pray for one another. Kind of like this is a form of storytelling. We lift up these things to God. We share the burdens that we're carrying, and we lift all of these things up, and we believe that God hears our prayers. And so it's something we do in this community. We have a prayer team that prays for you and connects with you. We try to connect with every single person who comments or sends us a text or email throughout the week. We connect with you throughout the week and just check in, see how you're doing, lifting one another up, encouraging one another. So if you're carrying a burden, know that you're not carrying it alone. We're going to give you 2 minutes to share with this community if you're open for that. And again, we realize it's an act of vulnerability, but share the burdens that you're carrying so that we can be praying with you and connecting with you, and this community can be holding you, praying for you, connecting with you, encouraging you, because here it's about community. So y'all take 2 minutes, and let me just say this before we get started. I'm starting, I guess. It's been a rough week for the country. We went on we're still dealing with COVID-19, the coronavirus, and then we go into the murder of George Floyd and what that's brought up for this country, what it's highlighted. As I said earlier, the racial injustice. And that's a conversation in this community we are going to continue to have. It's not a one and done thing. It's something that needs to be had in faith communities, in spiritual communities. We need to have that conversation about racism, and that racism is an act of evil. It's always evil. And as faith communities, we need to be sure we are condemning racism on every level, and we are loving all people, not just through our words, but through our actions, and very practical ways that you can touch and feel and that actually bring about change in the world. And we need to listen. It's my prayer that we can begin to listen to people of color, our brothers and sisters who have been marginalized, that we can pay attention enough to truly listen and to hear their voices. So take 2 minutes. That's my prayer request. I'll throw that out first. Let us know the burdens you're carrying, and we'll come back in 2 minutes.
Hey, y'all, welcome back. Thank you for what you said. And I just wanted to add prayers for the protests that are going on. Denver's actually under a curfew. Denver is for 8 o'clock tonight.
Yeah,
So just to
yeah.
keep that in our prayers and everything that's going on and outside of these walls.
Yes. Yeah. Thanks for that. We need it.
If I could throw in a personal one before we jump into you guys and your heartaches, I wanted to just let you all know that my family has been dealing with the loss of my cousin. He was found this week and he passed away, and it was an accident. They're going to be doing an autopsy, but prayers for my family. It's been heavy on their hearts, and especially for my aunt. So I would deeply appreciate any and all prayers.
Yeah. And just to look at Tammy and Ryan doing things tonight. But, I've gotten so many calls this week, so many today, actually. I told Tammy this morning, it's before noon, and I've already gotten 3 phone calls of people truly battling addiction, relapse. Their loved ones are battling. And so, y'all,
Yep.
I just know, even tonight, there was a little awkwardness in starting with celebrations, because I know the heartache that is just in our community right now on personal levels and on very communal levels. So be kind to one another, love one another, pray for one another, lift one another up. And thank you for letting us just have a moment with you all. Drew, you want to throw some on the screen from our community?
Jim asking for prayers for Chocolate Lisa. She's struggling with self-doubt and isolation. Thanks for sharing that with us. And we're praying for you, Chocolate Lisa. We love you.
Prayers for Lisa. Thank you, Jim. Amanda says, my friend Alma passed away this morning. She fought bladder and lung cancer for the last 14 months. Pray for her husband and 3 daughters. Prayers for them, Amanda. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Robin, please pray for my fellow Y12SR Yoga 12-Step Recovery leader Linda and her daughter Laurel. Tough couple of days for both. Laurel's in the hospital but is safe for now. Prayers for her. Thank you.
Prayers. Thank you for sharing, Robin. Pamela, keep praying for Sam to be guided to accept help and stay safe.
Prayers for Sam.
Pam, you know we do it every week here at Free, and throughout the week we always pray for you and Sam, and we're going to keep doing that. Thanks for always lifting him
Absolutely.
up. Your boy.
Andrea, my son is struggling with isolation and severe addictions.
Yeah.
Seems to be a theme. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that, Andrea.
Yeah.
You're certainly not alone, like I said, and you weren't even one of the phone calls this morning. You got 3 other phone calls this morning, so it's happening in this community. It's why we got to stick together, y'all, and we're going to be talking about belonging and isolation for the next 2 weeks. Jan said, Ryan, or your prayers, my prayer as well as thousands of other people. Ryan, thank you for verbalizing it. Yes, let's hold it close in prayer together. Thank you, Jan.
Glad you're here, Jan.
Yeah.
And Patty, praying for people to not hate, but to bring love to all, for patience, confidence, and push away self-doubt. Yeah, absolutely.
We'll
Thanks,
join
Patty.
with you in that prayer. Jamie says addicts still struggling and their children. Also, good friend Sally lost her leg due to alcoholism this week. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you for always reminding us to pray in this community for those still suffering.
Yes,
Thank
absolutely.
you. And prayers for your friend.
Desiree, prayer for unity and peace for the country. Yep, absolutely. Thanks, Des.
Yes. Do we have one more, Drew? Are we good? Let's do one more. Let's do one more. Marty. Hi, Marty. Marty says, I pray that we remember and find ways to make change for justice for all and for folks who have been left behind, the underserved. That's exactly, yes, let's pray for them. Justice for all, not just for some. Thank you for sharing that, Marty. That's going to be our prayer this week. You know what, guys, around here, we are The Wagon. That's why our website is either freespiritualcommunity.com or bethewagon.com. Goes to the same place. Do you know why The Wagon is the central image in this community? Some of y'all can tell this story, but it's been a while. I need to tell the story. Because when I was at the rescue mission a few years ago in LA, Los Angeles, we were getting a tour with one of the directors there, and he took us up to one of the top floors and showed us their wall of memorabilia. And on the middle of the wall was a picture of a wagon. And I said, dude, what's the story with the wagon? He said, you don't know the story? I said, no, but I apparently should know the story of the wagon. He said, that's how we got started here at the rescue mission, the largest rescue mission in the U.S., by the way. That's how we got started in the late 1800s. The wagon would go out to the roughest parts in LA, and they would distribute at night food, clothing, Bibles, hope. And then at the end of the evening, they would welcome anyone who wanted to get on the wagon to get on, and they were headed back to a place of recovery and connection and safety. And what happens when you get a bunch of drunk people on a wagon? They fall off. This community says they fall off. They fall off. Some of y'all are going to make comments on the thread right now. They fall off.
Hashtag
yes.
they fall off. Yep.
And when they would fall off, the wagon would stop, and some of the sober ones would get off the wagon and help those who had fallen off back on the wagon because they knew where they were at a place of recovery and connection. That's what we want to do around here, y'all. That's what this community is about. When you fall off the wagon of life, we do not kick the wounded. We do not do shame in this community. We don't do it. We stop, and we want to pick you back up. We want to welcome you back on. We want to love you when you don't know how to love yourself. That's what people did for me. It works. We want to remind you that God loves you, always, no matter what. You know, on the wagon, it sits central in our community here at Free, and it has since day one, even when we started in our backyard almost 2 years ago now. We keep donation boxes on the wagon and throughout the premises of Free, and it's the spiritual practice of your generous giving that helps us as a community keep going, thriving, doing new things, reaching out in new ways to people. So truly, we appreciate your generous giving to keep us going. I want you all to see this little 2-minute video from folks in this community who talked about why they give to this community we call Free.
Hey, I'm Kristen. The reasons I donate to Free are many. It's my spiritual home. It's my place of refuge, even in this virtual realm that we're experiencing right now. The people I've met at Free are my family, and I want to give in any way I can to expand the wagon as big as possible, because I want everyone to experience the joy that I have.
Hi, David here, and Reverend Ryan asked me to talk about why I give to Free. The short answer is I give to Free because I believe firmly in the mission. The Free mission of reaching addicts, loved ones of addicts, and spiritual refugees hits me on multiple levels, and I believe that the mission and the work that's being done inside the community of the Free spiritual community is just awe-inspiring and life-changing. I give because it matters to me, and because it matters to me, I hope it matters to you. That's why I give.
Hi, I give to Free because Free has done so much for me. Free is, it's a community. You know, I've said this before, I didn't know I was missing community in my life until I had community in my life. And that community is Free. I have made so many friends there. We welcome everyone. It's non-judgmental. Everyone is welcome from all different walks of life. That's why I give back to Free, so they can continue to be there for me.
My name is Gina Oatley, and I give to Free's mission simply because I am the loved one of an addict. We have battled with addiction for many years, and to find a community like Free that eats, breathes, and sleeps recovery, and to be supported and able to fellowship and socialize is very important to me.
To give in this community, the first way is to simply text the number on your screen. Text Be the Wagon. It'll text you back and ask you to click here, and then you can put in an amount, and you can give any amount in this community. We truly appreciate it. No amount is too small. Or you can go right to our website, freespiritualcommunity.com, and you can click on the donate button there, and again, put in any amount. Your generous giving makes a huge difference here, so thank you for that. And listen, I got one more announcement before we leave. What time is it? It is 8:03. Usually when we're live in person, we end at 8:15. We've been trying to end by 8 when we're virtual. But one more thing before we go. Lots of questions about when is Free reopening for in-person gatherings. Well, here's the deal, y'all. We are in conversation about this. I am working with our board of directors on this. We have a team put together. Saman Meyer, you just saw her in the video. She is the team lead on this. She's monitoring Arapahoe County guidelines. We're in Arapahoe County. Some of you all have been thinking we're in Douglas County. We're not. We're Arapahoe County. Free is in Arapahoe County. We have to follow the guidelines. The larger United Methodist Church has passed down guidelines that we have to follow. So we're getting all of these policies in place. As soon as some restrictions are lifted, we are going to gather again. We're going to welcome back our 12-step group meetings in this space. And it'll be soon, y'all. I can't give out any dates because we don't know yet. But it will be soon. I want y'all to know we're being proactive about this. We have not forgotten about it. We want to be in person with you as much as anyone. So we will keep you in the loop. We'll put updates on our Facebook page and an email. Thank you all for being with us tonight. If you have questions about that, let me know. Or like I said, Saman Myers, the team lead, you can shoot Saman a message on the thread below. She'll engage with you as well. Let's end tonight with prayer. And I'm just going to we're not going to do a community prayer thing. I just want to say a prayer for this community, if you allow me the honor to do that. So please just find a moment right now wherever you are and quiet yourself, maybe even drop your head or whatever you do to get quiet with God and yourself, and allow me to pray with you. God, thank you for this evening, and thank you for this beautiful, amazing community that truly demonstrates loving one another. God, this week, help us to love ourselves well, so that we can go out into the world and love others well. And God, you know we need it now more than ever to love ourselves so that we can love others. Give us courage, give us passion, and God, give us wisdom as we deal with some really hard things happening in the world right now. God, fill us with a kindness for one another. Fill us with a love for one another. Let us reach out to one another. And God, always lead us along the way. And give us the courage to follow you. Give this community the courage to follow you even when it's hard. And God, fill us with strength and grace. And let us be gracious with one another. God, thank you for loving us. It's in your name we pray. Amen. Thank you all for being with us tonight. We'll see you next time, hopefully Wednesday at Pop That Trunk. All right, peace out.